I think we already spoken a little bit about Jiva Dashavastha. So, this is the 10 stages of a man's life as reminisced by an embryo about to be born, but still in the mother's womb. And, kind of playing on the whole concept of the cycle of birth, rebirth, and not wanting to go back into this whole cycle of suffering. The embryo reminisces about each of the 10 stages of life and how at each stage he was greedy for something and then ends up in death only to come back to do the same thing over and over again. So I think the line is nahi, nahi, nahi. So the embryo starts off by saying, no, 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 I don't want to be born. And I think these lyrics were originally in Punjabi, as she said, they were taken from the Guru Granth Sahib, but they were translated, I think, to Sanskrit for this piece. So, what was the thought process behind this piece? I mean, this piece is so profound. There's something in it for everybody.
So this was created for the Natikala conference when Swapna Sundari Akka was doing something on numbers. So she said, I'm going to give you 10. You have to do something on 10. And the minute she said 10, I said, okay. Dashavatara, Dashamahavidya, lots of things to do. She said embargo and all of that. None of that. So that kind of pushed me to look at different kinds of poetry. And that's how I came across this, where he describes every stage is governed by a strong desire. Like, for example, when you are a teenager, you want social acceptance. You want to be friends with everybody. And that's so true. Now you want likes on views on Facebook and Instagram, and then you get disappointed. You get into depression when your peers are getting more likes than you. So that is a desire, and it's an unfulfilled desire. If you didn't have the desire, you will be at peace. But you're not at peace because you have that unfulfilled desire. So he said at every stage, at one stage you want money, power, status. At one stage you want sexual compatibility with your partner. At one stage, when you're a little kid, you want toys from the others. So you always want the other person's toys. And last, the ninth stage is when you want your youth to come back. Which is so true. Which is so true to everybody. Because I look at the mirror and I see my white hair and I say, oh gosh, I have to dye my hair again. Because, you see, you see that your youth has left you behind. It's a fact. It's a bitter truth that you need to accept. But the desire to remain young. So then when that desire doesn't happen, then it leaves you with a sense of dissatisfaction, discontentment. And the final 10th stage was, I want to stop my death. I don't want to die. So the Guru spoke about these 10 stages in this verse from the Guru Granth Sahib, but there was no embryo attached there. So that was my addition. Because, why? Now I said, when I'm going to speak about these 10 stages, first of all, they're not the Guru's voice because it is not in the language that is spoken. I changed it into Sanskrit. So, who is speaking? Is it Guru Nanak speaking or is it Rama Vaidyanathan speaking? Who is speaking? So that's when I realized there needs to be a protagonist. So that's when I said, let me bring in the embryo, because they say that the embryo, when it is inside the womb, remembers its past life. So this embryo remembers its past life and goes through, enumerates each of the stages and says, oh my God, at every stage I remain dissatisfied. So am I going to come out and go over the things again. And then here again, I must specify there's nothing wrong in having desires. Desire for knowledge, desire for serving the community, desire for spiritual enlightenment. So, but the Guru doesn't speak of any of these desires. He only speaks of desires that leave you discontented. So I think that was very interesting for me to work on. And then I said, okay, embryo. How am I going to show the embryo? Again, harnessing new vocabulary in your dance form, you know.
Yeah.
Ah, so then I got into this whole process of showing the embryo, but then still keeping it in the idiom of Bharatanatyam. So that was very interesting for me. Like I said, I love the process more than the performance always.
So I understand there's something very interesting about the musicality also of this piece.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and
Yes.
how you related the musicality of the piece with the concept itself?
Yes, the music was exquisitely done, like a joint collaboration between K. Venkateshwaran and Dr. S. Vasudevan, two very, very talented and accomplished Carnatic musicians in Delhi. And every raga, as each stage proceeded, every raga also proceeded with change of one swara, the change of one swara. So that is how we built up the change in raga. It wasn't just a random change. Each of the 10 stages were in 10 different ragas, which were absolute and organic build up.
Yeah, I would like to actually elaborate on that very beautiful way in how you have described sadhana. And I think, simply put, for me, I practice my dance because it is the only way I know I can grow, both as a person and as a dancer. And to me, the dance is multi-layered, isn't it? There are so many aspects in the dance, and one has to be completely immersed in it if you have to experience all of it. And therefore, yes, as you said yourself, it is meditative. And the intent, of course, of the practice is to grow, to develop, to become better than myself. And for that, I know that I need to be completely absorbed in the practice. And only then can I tune myself and be sensitive to all those many aspects of the dance, and to its tones, to its textures, to the rhythm, to my own body, to the inner and outer beauty of the dance. And only then will I find and discover ways in how I can respond to all of that, isn't it? And in discovering those ways, there are truths that emerge, like you said.
Yeah.
And and if you ask me for an example, I would say that um, you know when I practice, um, sometimes it's like I'm holding myself, and then I tell myself, you know let go, shed that resistance. And for me, it is as if, like, suddenly everything becomes clearer. It is like as if somebody has turned up the volume of the music, removed all the noise, and I can hear each instrument with great clarity. And you respond so freely and naturally to all those nuances. So I think the learning or the truth that emerges from that would be to shed resistance, abandon the self, let go, and allow yourself to absorb all that beauty. And I think those truths apply to life as well. And that is why I say that my dance allows me to grow as a person.
Every time I thought of it, I thought of it as something that I breathe, I live, I experience, and it's a very intense personal
Yes.
journey that I see it as, and also something that alters every decade. So I have redefined it as I've journeyed through life. So it's a mix of many things, and it's different when I have no intention to, or nothing upcoming as, or preparation for something that I'm looking forward as a in terms of a performance or a lecture, or even running a workshop or a class, whatever it might be.
Right.
Or sometimes I would see it as I was just um, it just came to me, like as though it presented itself.
Right.
Because I've experienced it when I was sleeping. And sometimes ideas, I would have had this one-liner as to, oh, maybe I could do this. And then that one-liner would, it'll manifest.
Right. Right.
When I least expect it. Sometimes it is something I feel when I work through my day-to-day routine. So it's just a combination of a whole lot of things.
So you're likening. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. It's correct. It's correct time.
You're likening your definition of sadhana to almost like a prerna, where there is an ignition of sorts, right?
It is.
So basically, what when you say sadhana, you have to actually differentiate between the practice, what we call, and the sadhana. Because what the practice we call is more of abhyasa. It's like a repeated thing you keep on doing. You get inspired by your teacher. Our teacher will give you a framework of what to do, what not to do, and you keep repeating it. And when you keep repeating it, the abhyasa, I think at a point you become, that time you are very much, affected by the external things, whatever is going around. And, but there's a point where you reach, you can still your mind, and all these things never matters. Nothing matters anymore. You just want yourself and do what you're supposed to do. So that's when you come into a path. That's when you realize your path, I guess. And that's when it becomes the sadhana.
So, but is repetition important in the sense, is that the only way to sadhana?
I would say that abhyasa is very important, and abhyasa means repeating the same thing. It's like you're churning your mind. You keep churning, and you get something out of that. And that is something very special and very unique to that person. My sadhana will be different from yours, and it's like a fingerprint, For every person, it is entirely different and unique to that particular person. So yes, repeated practice is important, I feel, because that's how I have come, till date. But sadhana, when you talk of sadhana, it is different from abhyasa. Abhyasa, yes, it is repeated practice. Once you go through that repeated practice, you have attained a point where you don't need that anymore. You concentrate on more of the, you know what to concentrate on, the technique, or what to work on. Till then, you are in that journey to find out what is that you have to work on, and what is that will help you to get something.
Okay, so I just want to begin by saying that I'm still seeking these answers for myself, and this is a constant search for, I think, any artist, and it keeps on evolving. So what I want to share today is from my understanding and experience so far.
Yes.
And so if we look at the word sadhana and we split it into two, I think we come with two words, which is sa and dhana. And dhana is literally that, it means wealth. So sadhana is the ultimate wealth. But in this case, it's not like money or property that is tangible, but it is the knowledge that we receive from our gurus. So, and I think that as dancers, we are extremely privileged, and we should, be very proud to be dancers, because we've been able to we have access to this abundance of wealth that have been, passed on for centuries, and it's literally in our hands now. And sometimes these great masters have, put together this for us. And when I stop and look at these adabus or movements, I'm stunned, because just to think that a mind could create, fashion these movements onto a human form is, it really boggles my mind sometimes. And so I think sadhana is investing in this wealth so that it grows and grows. And also when we speak about sadhana, we are assuming that we're in the studio and we're working, so we're going to arrive at these answers immediately. But in my experience, I've realized that even when I wasn't physically dancing, revelations have come to me. Even and revelations come from a certain isolation and a quietness of the mind. So even for me, when I was in when I was in an auto, like and that deafening quietness of an auto, which really forces you to kind of zone out sometimes. So you're able to easily contemplate and arrive at answers in those quiet moments, I think. Uh, Whether it's an interpretation of a naika or a movement, I think it just does definitely require a space of quietness of the mind. And ultimately, only 50% of what we actually do in the workspace, manifests on stage. So, sorry, my cat is here.
No problem.
So okay, so yeah, ultimately, only 50% of what we do is which manifests on stage. And when we are working, we're really pushing our limits and doing more than is required for the stage. So in a way we are pushing our limits to ultimately become limitless in a way.